I was excited for my service learning. I love working with kids, and so what better way to complete my hours than by tutoring at a nearby elementary school? I thought I was prepared for what I was going to experience, but boy was I wrong. I saw a rundown building with bars on the windows and books that could barely be held together by tape. I saw children lining up for lunch. For some of them, it would be their only hot meal of the day. I walked in on my first day and took a look around, and at once was aware of how white I was compared to the school body and its faculty. I walked in and was instantly aware of our differences, of my privilege. I don't have a sob story about my childhood hardships, because honestly, I have a picture-perfect life in comparison to the kids I was about to help. In class, we spent many hours reading and discussing the history of Milwaukee. I've been in Milwaukee for almost a semester now, and I've lost track of how many times I've heard the phrase, "Milwaukee's the most segregated city in America." I've read about fair housing, 200 nights of marching. I've seen pages upon pages of statistics, charts, and graphs covering everything from poverty to education to incarceration. I learned how structural oppression is a key factor of the racial inequalities in Wisconsin. Yes, it was an uncomfortable topic, but when class was over, I left the room and my life went back to normal. I didn't give it any more thought. Black Milwaukee was just another topic I had to learn. So I was well aware of what life looked like in the inner city, and I was prepared for the challenges I might experience during my service learning. Or so I thought. On my first day, I walked into a K-5 classroom, and the kids were about to get a snack. My supervisor turned to me and asked, "Would you help pass out the fruit cups?" Of course, I thought. I was eager to help. She then added, "Make sure each student only gets one." She discreetly looked around and eyed a few of the students and continued in a whisper, "Some of them will hide them and take them home. The students we have here are very poor." I was taken aback. She was telling me to make sure none of these 5-year-olds stole a fruit cup. I looked around at the innocent faces, and despite my initial shock, I passed out the snacks. The day continued, and during recess, my supervisor calls me over to talk. She had seen my expression earlier and felt the need to clarify. She explains that 4 out of 5 students in the Milwaukee public school system are hungry, and that this particular school provides 2 governmentally funded meals a day, and if the students are in the after-school program, they get dinner as well. I took another look around at the kids playing. It's an empty schoolyard, just a slab of concrete fenced in behind the school. I was overcome with emotion, with anger, and hopelessness. I thought, these kids are 5 years old. I stood there and watched, and thought back on the discussions we had in class. The charts and graphs were no longer anonymous statistics. As I went home that day, I talked to some of my friends about what had happened. We talked about racism and segregation, and I told them about my experience at the school. One of my friends turns to me and says, "The things we complain about seem so ridiculous. What do we really have to complain about?" She was right. I can't relate to the lives of my kindergarten students. I've never been in a situation where it would occur to me to steal food. When I go home to my room, I know that I have a box full of snacks and a fridge full of food. I have a cafeteria I can go to, and a card with a meal plan on it. Yet, I still make jokes about being the typical broke college student. When I look at it, I don't really need anything, and I never actually have. My basic needs are covered, and my biggest worries are things such as writing a story for a final project in English. I said to myself that I knew about the situation in Milwaukee, but I didn't actually think about it. I realize how easy it is to neglect to critically think about something when it doesn't directly affect you. How easy it is to take what you have for granted.